Disciples of Friedman believed that we as a society would never rationally accept such a sweeping restructuring of the social contract unless we are shocked into it. They look at disasters that traumatize us as useful. When the tsunami hit Sri Lanka in 2004, and while people were still shocked and disoriented, developers gained access to coastal land. They built resorts for international tourists rather than rebuild the fishing villages that were the livelihood for the locals. Compare this to the kingdom of heaven. When Hurricane Katrina leveled New Orleans, Friedman wrote an op-ed piece in the New York Times saying it was an opportune time to reform education in the city, though it was critical to strike quickly. The Bush administration was happy to oblige. The result? 19 months later, while levees and the electrical grid were still waiting to be built, public education in New Orleans was essentially decimated. Before Katrina, there were 123 public schools and 7 private charter schools. After Friedman, only 4 public schools remained, 4. And they were replaced by 31 private schools. The teachers' union was shredded, and 4,700 teachers lost their jobs. Compare this to the kingdom of heaven. When Mother Nature does not provide a crisis, any crisis will do, manufactured or real. New Zealand experienced this in 1984. In response to a monetary crisis, Roger Douglas swiftly instituted a major restructuring of the economy in line with the doctrines of Milton Friedman. While for the more affluent, these changes were seen as positive, 76,000 manufacturing jobs were lost. Unions were crippled, state assets were sold off, the cost of living rose, and to this day, the gulf between rich and poor continues to widen. Compare this to the kingdom of heaven. The list of crises created by advocates of an unregulated free market, advantageous to multinational corporations, is long and onerous. Coups initiated by the CIA at the behest of multinationals in Indonesia, Chile, Brazil, and Argentina cost hundreds of thousands of lives. Shock and awe at the beginning of the Iraq War were straight out of Friedman's handbook to stun the Iraqi people into giving up their natural resources quickly and without resistance. The most recent crisis, the shocking meltdown of Wall Street, which has cruelly impacted the globe, has not stopped true believers in Friedman from gaining even more wealth after the fact at the expense of the common good. Compare this to the kingdom of heaven. As important as Dan's anatomy is at the moment, we need to pay attention to the signs of spring. There is a party going on that we need to attend. We need to engage and inquire. Our task is to compare those who would lead us with the kingdom of heaven. If necessary, we need to be amongst the few who do not conform to a world according to Friedman. It would be easier not to. But then, compare us to the kingdom of heaven. Amen.